We're diving into Metaphor ReFantazio, a unique RPG from Atlas. In this review, we'll break down the gameplay, story, and whether it's worth your time. The first thing you'll notice about Metaphor is its heavy reliance on, well, metaphors. Right from the beginning, the game asks questions about your personal perspective on fantasy, setting up a meta-narrative that runs throughout. The game's world, called Uchronia, blends elements of a traditional fantasy setting with a modern twist. As the story progresses, you learn that humans in this world are considered grotesque monsters, turning typical RPG tropes on their head. What sets this game apart is its unique approach to world building. Metaphor isn't content to be just another RPG with knights and dragons. Instead, it seeks to tie its fantasy world to ours in a more symbolic and, at times, philosophical way. It takes you on a journey that feels both familiar and foreign at the same time. However, while this storytelling approach is intriguing, it could come across as overly complex for players looking for a straightforward adventure. It walks a fine line between compelling and convoluted. At its core, Metaphor ReFantazio offers a blend of turn-based and real-time combat, reminiscent of the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei systems. Combat is fast-paced and flashy, with enough depth to keep you engaged. You'll get bonuses like reduced enemy health or first strikes if you successfully attack enemies on the field before entering battle, making exploration a strategic component of the game. This feels like a nice evolution of what we've seen in previous Atlas games, but Metaphor doesn't just recycle old mechanics, it adds its own flavor. One of the biggest changes is the archetype system, where characters can change their job classes. There are about 40 archetypes to experiment with, and these can be unlocked as the story progresses or as bonds with characters grow. It's a system that promises variety, letting you adapt your party's skills to different situations. But the system isn't as flashy as some might hope. Changing archetypes doesn't come with those cool outfit transformations seen in games like Final Fantasy X2. If you're a fan of deep tactical options, the combat system will keep you hooked. However, some might find the real-time elements a bit chaotic or underdeveloped, especially if they're expecting the slick turn-based combat of Persona 5. There's also no baton pass mechanic, which means combat isn't always as fluid as what fans might be used to. Much like Persona, Metaphor brings back social elements. The Royal Virtues system replaces the familiar social stats, while followers act as a new version of social links. Your main objective in the game is to gain enough renown to become king, and your relationships with both major characters and the general population play a crucial role in that journey. It's a system that will feel familiar to Atlas fans, but it also makes sense within the context of Metaphor's political themes. Exploration is where Metaphor truly shines. The game moves away from procedurally generated dungeons like those found in earlier Persona titles, opting instead for handcrafted locations that feel more meaningful. Every dungeon, city, and area is visually distinct and filled with secrets. This makes the world feel alive, and it's easy to get lost in the intricacies of the Kingdom of Uchronia. One of the more interesting features is the in-game calendar system, which forces you to make tough choices about which missions to complete and which alliances to form. This adds a layer of tension to the game, especially for completionists who want to do everything. It's clear that multiple playthroughs will be needed to fully experience the game. The art and music in Metaphor are, unsurprisingly, top-notch. Atlas has always excelled in creating stylish, cohesive visual designs, and Metaphor takes this even further by embracing a darker, more whimsical aesthetic. The contrast between the grim world and the colorful user interface gives the game a unique flair. The monsters are creative, often grotesque, and the environments range from grimy, worn streets to grand, regal settings. The music, composed by Atlas veteran Shoji Meguro, helps create a mood of oppressive royalty. It's not the pop-infused soundtrack that Persona fans might expect, but it suits the game's tone perfectly. Each location has its own feel, and the music enhances this, whether you're wandering through a bustling market or battling twisted creatures. While Metaphor ReFantazio has a lot going for it, there are some downsides. The characters, for example, while well-designed, don't feel as engaging as previous Atlas games. Their personalities lean heavily on fantasy archetypes, noble heroes, wise mentors, and shady rogues, which can feel a bit predictable. Hopefully, as the story progresses, these characters will get more depth. Additionally, the game's reliance on its metaphor-heavy narrative might not be for everyone. If you're not interested in unpacking layers of symbolism, some of the story beats might feel unnecessarily complex or pretentious. So, Is Metaphor ReFantazio worth playing? With its engaging combat, bold storytelling, and immersive world, it offers a lot for RPG fans, but with a few familiar fantasy tropes and character depth still in question, it's worth approaching with some caution. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming reviews.